This month we're going to be working on an arrangement of Somewhere Over the Rainbow in a similar style to Iz's cover. When we work on this, we're going to be using a lot more sort of ballad-like technique. So you'll notice it moves a little bit slower than some other songs, but I think that really works well with this melody. So let's go ahead and dive into the intro. And at this intro part, we're going to be using a finger picking style. So what's really important is making sure that we're really comfortable using multiple fingers over multiple strings. And you can either use 4-finger picking, in which you have 1 finger per string, using your thumb, index, middle, and ring, or 3-finger picking, in which you have your thumb responsible for 2 strings, being the G and the C, with your index on the E and middle here on the A. For more information on finger picking, be sure and check out the links below. There's a couple videos that cover these concepts. So to start here, we're going to play a C chord. We're going to take your ring finger and place it on the 3rd fret of the A string. We're going to pluck the C, E, and A strings together. Then we're going to play the open G, then just the E, then the G again. And then we're going to move our pinky finger up to the 7th fret of the A string, and we're going to pluck the C, E, and A together. And then we're going to slide that finger down to 5 on the A. So that first measure is Now as we go into the next measure, we're going to play an E minor chord. You're going to take your ring finger, place on the 4th fret of the C string, middle finger on the 3rd fret of the E, and index finger here on the 2nd fret of the A. We're going to play those 3 strings together, then play the open G, then just the C, then the G again, and then take the pinky finger and add it onto the 5th fret of the A string, making sure you're not moving these other 3 fingers. Then play the 2 on the A, removing that pinky finger but leaving the other 3 fingers where they are. And then add the pinky back onto 5. So that measure is Now, it's important to leave those fingers in position when you're adding that 5 and removing it so that you can allow the notes to continue to ring throughout the measure. It's really important to get good tone with this particular version of the song, and keeping those fingers in position will benefit that. So now we look towards the next measure, and what we're going to play here is kind of a pseudo F chord. We're going to play our index finger here on the 1st fret of the E string and add our ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string. We're going to pluck the E and the A strings together, then the C string, then the E string, then the A, then the E, then the E twice. So that whole measure sounds like And now moving into this next measure, we're simply going to remove the index finger on the fretting hand to play a C chord. You'll notice we're all open with that 3 on the A. And we're going to pluck our G, E, and A strings all together to play this. Now this is where it's really important with that finger picking style that it's being used, because we're plucking strings out of sequential order, right? We're playing the G, E, and A, so we can use our thumb, index, and middle to play these 3. Or we can use our thumb, middle, and ring to play these 3. Both are considered correct and work very well. Then we'll play the open C, open E, 3 on the A, open G, open C, open G. So that measure sounds like Now the next measure, we're going to add that index finger back on for the F. Play those 2 together, the E and the A. And we're going to play the open C, 1 on the E, 3 on the A. And as we're playing this 3 on the A, we're going to take our middle finger on our fretting hand and we're going to place it onto the 2nd fret of the G string, because you'll notice that very next note is 2 on the G. We're going to play that note, followed by the C string, open, and then 2 on the G again. Now this stretch is difficult, right? It doesn't seem so difficult because it's just kind of 1 finger per fret, but it feels like our hand is opening up. If you haven't done this stretch before, it can feel really tricky. So it's encouraged to do it this way with the 3 fingers because it sets up our pinky to do other cool stuff. But it's okay for us to actually use our pinky on the 3rd fret of the A string if it makes that transition easier right now, because it looks more uncomfortable with the pinky here than it does with the ring. But it tends to be a little bit easier because it's not expanding the fingers quite as much as using these 3 individual. So again, it's okay to use the pinky there on 3 of the A. And that measure should sound something like this. Now we move to the next measure. We're going to play an E7 chord for this measure, and we're going to fret the whole chord right off the bat. So we'll play the 1st fret on the G string with our index finger, 2nd fret on the C string with our middle, and 2nd fret on the A with our ring finger. So 1, 2, 0, 2. But to start it, we're only going to play the C, E, and A strings together, so not playing the G string. And then we'll play the G string very next, and open E. And now we're going to stretch our pinky up to 5 on the A. Now when we do this stretch, it's preferred to keep those other 2 fingers in position, but then it becomes a very big stretch. And depending on what size ukulele you're playing and how much you've done stretching on the instrument before, this might be unachievable at first. And so it's okay to take off the hand and move it up to get that 5 on the pinky, but it's preferred to try to leave that index and middle finger there if possible. And so we play the 5, and then we come back down to the 2. And what we want to do is play the 2 with our ring finger because it's what we just were playing it with on the E7 chord. So that measure is something like. Now going into the next measure, we're going to play an A minor chord, 2, 0, 0, 0. And we're just going to use our middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the G string. We're going to pluck the G, C, and E strings together. So no A string. Then play the open A, and then play 3 on the A. Now this is the same sort of deal as with that F chord, so you can play it with your pinky or your ring finger. The ring finger is preferred, but much harder, so it's okay to use the pinky if that's easier for you. It's easier for me. And then we're going to play the 3 on the A again, and then open E, and then open A. So that measure sounds like. Now the next measure, we're going to add the index finger here on the 1st fret of the E string for that F chord. We're going to play 2, 0, 1, just on the G, C, and E strings. Then we're going to play the open A string. Then we're going to play 3 on the A. Same deal as before, where that ring finger is preferred, but it's okay to use the pinky. And then we're going to play all 4 strings together. So that measure should sound like this. So now as we're working through this, it's important to note that this whole finger-picking intro is supposed to sound like an intro. So it's not quite just the main melody of the song, it's got some filler in it too. And so this is actually the hardest part of the song, is both the intro and outro finger-picking sections. And so for a lot of people, it's okay to jump into the main chorus. And that section of the song is really where we get into the meat of the melody and what we know. And so this finger-picking part might take a little bit more practice for that reason. So it should sound something like this if we put it all together for the finger-picking intro. Now, working right into the chorus, we're going to start using our thumb more to be strumming through these parts to make it more melodic, using a technique that's called rubato. And for more information on rubato, be sure to check out the video below. Covered it in a series I do with Ukulele Underground called Webcam Sessions, where we go into detail of this rubato type of technique. But it's going to be using the thumb trying to play through these notes and trying to be more melodic. And it's okay for the timing here to not be perfect, because what we're trying to accomplish is a more vocal type of sound, a more human type of sound. So we don't have to put on the metronome to practice it. It's okay to make it as musical as we can. And so to start here, we're going to strum through a C chord. We're going to use our middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string, strum all the way through all 4 strings. And then we're going to just play the 3 on the A by itself. Going into this next measure, we're going to play an E minor chord, same as we played before. Ring on 4 of the C, middle on 3 of the E, index on 2 of the A. We're going to strum through that. And we're going to play the 3 on the E that you're already fretting. Then we're going to remove the index finger. And then we're going to add that index finger back on. And then we're going to take everything off and slide up to 3 on the A. So those 2 measures sound something like this. Going into the next measure, we play an F chord, middle finger here on 2 of the G, index finger here on 1 of the E, play all the way through all 4. Then we'll play the open C, open A, and we're going to take our ring finger, place it on the 3rd fret of the E string, play that along with the 0 on the C with our thumb. And then we're going to strum through a C chord, moving our ring finger down to the 3rd fret of the A string. So those 2 measures sound something like this. Now moving to the next measure, we're going to go back to that F chord that we were just playing. And we're going to play the 1 on the E again. And then we're going to play a C chord, but we actually don't need to fret the A string at all, because this whole measure is just going to be playing the G, C, and E string followed by the E string several times. So we just leave it all open, take our thumb, strum through the G, C, and E, stopping at that A string, and that's dreams. Then we play the 0 on the E 4 times for the words that you dreamed of. So those 2 measures sound like. Now going to the next measure, we're going to play a G chord for the first time with the song. Index finger here on 2 of the C, ring finger here on 3 of the E, and middle finger here on 2 of the A. We're going to play the 2 on the C by itself. Then we're going to strum through the whole chord. And then we're just going to remove the index finger, leaving the other 2 fingers where they are, play 0 on the C, and then reapply that index finger to 2 on the C. And then play through a G chord again, and then play the 2 on the C, which is still right there. So when we're playing this measure, it's really important to build this chord, take away that index finger, and re-add it. So it sounds something like this. Going right into this next measure, it's going to be an A minor chord. And with this A minor chord, we're going to play 2, 0, 0. We're not going to play the A strings. And then we're going to play the A string. Then we're going to play the A string again with the 3rd fret on the A string fretted with the ring finger. Now going right into this next measure, we're going to take that ring finger and we're going to slide it up to the 7th fret of the A string. Use our index finger to bar across the 5th fret over all 4 strings. Go ahead and take the middle finger and stack it across with that index finger too, to give a little bit more pressure for it. So you're playing 5, 5, 5, 7. You're going to strum through all 4 of these strings. And then you're going to remove the ring finger so that just the 5 from the bar is there. Play that. And then we have to slide this whole thing down pretty quickly to be index finger on 1 of the E and ring finger on 3 of the A. So as we're looking through this melody, you can start to hear how it sounds more like the is version, right? And you'll notice the lyrics are listed on all of these sections too, going somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, right? And so really use those as you're playing it, and don't worry too much about the timing of things. Just try to play it as you relate to the song. So imagine that you're singing it through your ukulele, and it's okay to have a little bit more free time in terms of the sound for that reason. I really like to play the song in a way where it's just, trying to sing through the instrument. So far, what this chorus section should sound like is something like this. Now at this point, it's going to repeat back to the start of that chorus section and play through the exact same part again. And so as you're working through this, you'll get to where it shows the second ending within the tab, and that looks something like this. You'll notice it's very similar to what we just played. And what will happen is after we do lullaby, playing through we go now to the second ending, play the 3 on the A, and now we're going into the next section of the song, which is the "Someday I'll wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind." So during this section of the song, it's going to be using the same sort of chords and shapes. So it's just new combinations of how these notes are played to create a different melody. So let's go and take a look at it. Right after we played some, the 3 on the A, we're going to play through a C chord for day. Then we're going to play 3 on the A for I'll wish upon. And then we're going to play 3 on the E, which we can just take our ring finger and we can move it up to that 3 on the E, or we can use our middle finger and add it to the 3 on the E with that 3 on the A still there. Both are considered correct. I like to use the 3 on the E with the middle so that I can keep that note ringing, but that's something like this now. Day I'll wish upon, and then a star. Then we go to a G chord. Index finger on 2 of the C, ring finger here on 3 of the E, middle finger here on 2 of the A. Wake up where all that is strumming through the G chord, then playing the A string 3 times. So wake up where and then for clouds are far B, we strum through again, clouds, and then just all on the A string, are far B. So no changing with our fretting hand. So wake up where the clouds are far B. Then we play an A minor, just move our index finger up to the 2nd fret of the G string, hind. And we're going to play the open C and the open E for filler there. We're going to slide all the way up now to the 5-5-5-7 that we played at the end of the last section. So bar with the index, take the middle finger, bar it across with it, add the ring finger on 7 of the A. We're going to strum through that, me, and then we're going to remove that ring finger, play 5 on the A, and slide this whole shape down so that we have 1 on the E string with the index finger, 3 on the A string with the ring, and we're going to strum through that. And then it's going to start essentially playing this again, so it sort of repeats. So the bridge section so far sounds something like this. Now we go, trouble melts like lemon drops, which is exactly the same as day I'll wish upon a star. And then it goes high above but this time we run into a little bit of a problem. Even though it's the same G chord and the melody note starts on the 2 of the A, it goes all the way up to the 5 on the A for chimney top. So what this does is we actually have to change the way that we play the G chord to facilitate that higher note. Sometimes a chord is correct being played one way, not based on that chord in isolation, but based on what comes after it or what comes before it. In this case, it's what comes after it or during it. Because we have to go up to the 5 on the A string, it's actually better to play the G chord in this case with our index finger barred across the 2nd fret of the C, E, and A, and then take our middle finger here and place it on the 3rd fret of the E string. So you see this and this are actually the same thing, right? They're both G chords, both 0, 2, 3, 2. But by playing it this way, it'll allow us to strum through for high, and then above the, and then for the strum through for chimney, where we need the 5 on the A to be added, we just take our pinky and stretch it out to 5 on the A, and we strum through. Chim, and then we remove that pinky, knee, tops, that's. So high above the chimney tops, that's. So a different way of playing the chord, and important to use that just because the situation calls for it, going up to that 5 on the A. Now you technically could play the first one that we worked on this way too. However, I think it's good to do it both ways. It's a good exercise to be able to kind of reprogram our brain to do the same chord shape in multiple ways. But you can really do that first section this way too if you really want to. So after we play that, we're then going to go to an A minor chord, 2, 0, 0, 0. Play the open A again. And we're going to go all the way up, bar across 5, add that same exact section. So it's exactly the same as we played earlier, and that's going to be where you'll find me, oh. So now at this point, we're back into the chorus, and there's some slight variation to the way that the chorus is played on this run through. So we're going to cover those changes. But essentially, it's the same as the first chorus with just some small differences, right? So when you're working through this and you get to this chorus part, it's important to recognize that it's something very similar to what we worked on already. So now at this chorus part, section C, we're going to play through our C chord. And this time we're going to use our index finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string. And the reason is instead of playing the 3 again like we did earlier, we're going to stretch our pinky out here to 7 on the A. So it goes somewhere. And then we're going to go to over the rainbow, and we're going to go to our E minor chord that we played before. So index here on the 2nd fret of the A, middle finger here on the 3rd fret of the E, ring finger here on the 4th fret of the C, strum through all 4. That's O, and then the will be the A string twice. But then we're going to take our pinky and add it on 5 of the A. Then we're going to take off the pinky to play 2 again on the A. So we have over the rainbow. And then we're going to go to an F chord. Same way we've been playing it the whole time through, with our middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the G and index here on the 1st fret of the E. Then we're going to play the 3 on the A twice. Now again, you can use your ring finger or your pinky finger as long as you keep these fingers in position to let them keep ringing. Now whichever finger you use there for way up, you'll want to just hold there for when you take away the fingers to play this C chord. So it might look kind of funny using your pinky on a C chord, but it's okay, because if you came from this, it means the right way to play the C chord is without moving. You'll notice we play it twice in this measure. Now we go to and and what we'll do there is play the F chord, just the 2, 0, 1, 0, middle on 2 of the G, index on 1 of the E, play through that all, then 1 on the E, and then we're going to play the open C chord that we played earlier, so no fretting, just play the 0, 0, 0, don't play the A string, so we stop on the A. And then for dreams that you dare to, what that is you're going to play through it, then the open C by itself, and take your middle finger, place on the 2nd fret of the C string, then open E string, take your index finger, place on the 1st fret of the E string. And that's that measure there with the C, so it's dreams that you dare to. Now from this point it goes Y, oh Y, and that's going to be over the G chord, so we fret our whole G chord here, index finger on the 2nd fret of the C string, ring finger here on the 3rd fret of the E, middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the A. We're going to play just the C string, then the whole chord, then take off just the index finger, play open on that string, and add the index finger back on, and strum through the chord, then 2 on the C, and then we go to our A minor chord, just our index finger here on the 2nd fret, On the G string, play the first 3 strings, G, C, and E. Open A, 3 on the A. And then we go to the F chord, same way that we've been playing it. Then open A, and then the 3 on the A, which we can use our pinky or ring, depending what's more comfortable. Right? So that whole section is very, very similar to the first chorus because it's basically the same thing with just some small changes. And it's important to kind of look for those changes. It can be kind of fun to analyze, put them side by side using the tabs to actually view these different parts, right? And again, the tabs are all available on my Patreon page, so be sure and check that out if you haven't already. So from this point, we go into the outro. And the outro is basically the same thing as the intro. There is a little bit of a difference with it in terms of how it ends because it's also the ending of the song. So to take a look at the outro, we're going to play a C chord. We're going to pluck just our C, E, and A strings there. And we're going to play this the same way where we're going to be going from the 3 up to the 7. So we're going to use our index finger here on the 3rd fret of the A string for the C chord. Play the C, E, and A, then just the G, just the C, or excuse me, just the E, just the G. Add the pinky on 7 of the A, and then slide the pinky down to 5 on the A. We go to that E minor, 4, 3, 2, same chord as what we played earlier. G, C, G, pinky on 5, take the pinky off, leaving the other fingers where they are, put the pinky back on 5, and then going to that F chord where we're going to play the 1 on the E string and the 3 on the A string. So we're going to play those two together with our index and ring fingers on our fretting hand. Open C, E, A, E, A. Then going to a C chord, just leave that index finger, or excuse me, ring finger there on the A string. Play those 3 strings, the G, E, and A together. C, E, A, G, C, G. Just add the index finger back, so it's 1 and 3. C, E, A. Add the middle finger here on the 2 of the G, and remember if that stretches too hard, it's okay for the pinky to be there on the 3 of the A to make it more doable. G, C, G. We switch to the E7 that we did before, the 1, 2, 0, 2 with our index, middle, and ring fingers. Play the C, E, and A together. G, E, A. And then on that 5, which is that big stretch, just like we did before, exactly the same. It's okay to take the fingers off. And then we go back to the 2. And here's where it actually changes. So all of that's been the same. But then we're going to play an A minor chord, and we actually never play the G string in this section, so we can just play open, and we're going to pluck the C, E, and A strings. Then open C, open E, open A, open E, open C. And then the F chord, we're going to just add our index finger here on 1 of the E, and there's no need to actually add the middle finger here on 2 of the A. You'll notice the A string's not written anywhere in this measure. So we'll play those 3 strings, the C, E, and A. 0 C, 1 E, play 3 on the A. And then to finish it off, we're going to play that C chord, just all open with that 3rd fret on the A string. So that end part of the outro, the A minor F to C, which is different than the first one, sounds something like this. So when you put it all together, it's a really nice ballad version of the song that I think, you know, is quite different than the original Is version. The original Is version features a lot of, you know, more heavy strumming type of sounds, and this is meant to be more melodic and trying to make the ukulele sing the part that is so beautifully sang, right? So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Be sure to check out my Patreon page for more lessons just like this. And also every month we vote on a new song to work on, and whatever song wins that vote gets the tutorial. So this was January's lesson, and so be sure to check it out if you want to help vote on next month's lesson, or if you have an idea for a lesson that you'd love for other people to vote on. And I'll see you guys next month for another episode of this tutorial series. Thanks.